Okay, well, what's up, everybody? Make sure you hit that like button as you roll in, as usual. They say that when the war was done, the Nazis vanished without a trace. But battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books say... What's the line? The history books tell... Shit, I wish I could stop burping. Fuck, I hate that. I hate burping. Fuck. Ah. They say that when the war was done, the Nazis vanished without a trace. But battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books tell of their defeat in 45. Now, I feel like that's not the melody. I feel like I'm getting it mixed up with a different melody. Whatever. I'm going to have to listen to that song some more before I really get it down. Icy today in America? It is. There's actually some ice news that we can discuss once we get a few people in here. Oh boy, let's go. I know, it's your favorite part of the night. I'm here. I'm finally here to entertain you all. Gotta love ice. I assume you're being sarcastic. If not, well, I'm sorry to tell you, I have no love for ice. Thank God the skibbities are here early. The skibbities. They are here early, aren't they? Usually it takes them at least 5 minutes to roll in lately. What did you just stumble upon? Probably the most interesting stream you're going to find this late at night, so stay a while and listen. You never know what you might hear. Ice forever? Okay, bud. Well, hey, at least that's something the Republicans and the Democrats can agree on. No matter what administration is in power, Mexican people and people of other nationalities, but mostly Mexican people, are going to be rounded up regularly and shipped out of this country. That's despite, by the way, the fact that Trump himself was talking about how we've really got to make sure that we're not deporting the wrong people. Our farmers, they're losing workers. Dude, motherfucker, it's your policy. I cannot believe that shit happened. Even though it happened like 2 or 3 months ago, I still cannot believe that shit happened. What's up, Femboy Stormtrooper? What's up, what's up, what's up? Oh, you can say the actual F word here, my friend. We don't language police on these parts. You can say whatever the fuck you want. More or less. All these fans in the chat, I know. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it wild? No, I don't know. I was talking about ICE there for a minute, and I think they got real excited. I'm going to talk about it. I just want to wait for some people to scroll in first. So make sure you guys hit that like button as you're rolling in, because it really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. So all of you who have not done that, please do this at that time, or do that at this time, I should say. Fucked that one up. But anyway, yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the shooting that happened at the ICE facility, though. That's probably, in my opinion, it's the biggest news story of the day. Some people may disagree, but I think it's a pretty wild thing, because I think that there's some theories we can derive off of what's happened so far. I don't think things are quite as clear as they seem. Another homeless homosexual? Bro, I literally am in my backyard. Motherfuckers see a person sitting by a fire, and their only thought is, that person must be homeless. That tells you how many people in America don't have houses these days. Literally don't own a house, or don't even, like, they don't even rent a house where they could have like a fire pit or something like that. And so the idea of someone doing that is so foreign to them that they automatically assume that person must be homeless. Well, I'm sorry to inform you, I actually have a house. You're wearing a dress? Wrong. This is a blouse. This is a top. It's just a shirt. It's not a dress. Same thing. That's just objectively not true. I can tell nobody has ever pointed out the difference to you, though. People hate because they're pointing out absurdity? What's more absurd? Me sitting around smoking a cigarette and having a fire in my backyard while being trans, or random people coming up in said backyard having shit to say to me about it? Like, what's weirder? You giving a shit how other people are dressed and how they feel about themselves and what they like what they dress as or whatever, or me choosing to dress that way? I don't know. Take your pick. Personally, I find the former quite a bit weirder. Hold on. I'm going to have to use my straw for this one. There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Well, actually, we're cooking with wood, but still, now we're cooking. Being trans must be hell on earth? You would think so, but not really. I mean, the right wing tries their best to make it hell on earth, and people who are opposed to trans people, because it's not just people on the right, but transphobes in general try to make it very difficult to be trans, but the truth of it is, most of them are afraid to bring any of this fucking shit in real life. Most of them are terrified to actually confront a trans person with any of this transphobic bullshit. So the amount of times I've actually been confronted with transphobia IRL, outside of the context of somebody already fighting with me, 0. I have yet to bring it. I have yet to have someone deny me service on the basis of it, or to subject me to verbal harassment or anything like that. I mean, mind you, this is not me saying that these things don't happen. I'm saying that when they do happen, it's an example of someone coming out in real life with some shit that normally stays online. Many reasons it's evil. Mainly, God made you trying to be something you're not. That's just objectively untrue. If God exists, then God made me trans. If God exists, then God made me trans. Otherwise, you need to come up with some kind of excuse as to why there's always been so many trans people. Not to say there's that many, but why do we exist at all? Why do we constantly exist throughout so many cultures? Why can you look back through indigenous American cultures, indigenous European cultures, old Eastern cultures? Why can you look at all of these different cultures from all around the planet and see evidence of trans people if it's something that is an aberration from God's plan? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm sorry. Didn't Native Americans have a third gender? Not universally, but there was a tribe that did. I don't remember which one they were. In fact, there may have been a number of tribes that did. But, I mean, like, you can't really, like, people will say things like, the Native Americans did things this way, and what they really mean is a specific tribe of Native Americans did things that way. Native Americans were, of course, not a monolith. They were a wide assortment of various peoples, distributed all across America. Are you of the opinion all mental illnesses are curable then, if you think it is one? That's another good question, Taylor. It really never occurs to me to ask these people. If being trans is a mental illness and you think it's curable by merely not being trans, then do you think that way about every other mental illness? And if you think being trans is a mental illness, another great question is exactly what science are you basing that on? Like, in Reddit terms, sauce? You know, like what is your evidence for this like wild fucking claim that literally flies in the face of modern medical science? Modern medical science tells us that trans people are completely valid, that we are a product of a combination of genetic and environmental factors, etc., etc. So whence cometh the opposition to trans people? It's not based on science, because the vast preponderance of science disagrees with them. It's not based on religion, because there are multiple interpretations of Christianity, not all of which are hostile to trans people. So what is it based on? Well, in my opinion, it's based on the fact that we've got a culture that is Like these people were born, as far as why they're doing it personally, it's because they were born into a culture that's anti-trans, born into a culture that treats any kind of questioning of gender like it's verboten. And so they look at a person like me and they say, what the fuck? Wait a minute. I didn't have to play this stupid role my whole life. I didn't have to pretend to be interested in a bunch of shit that I pretended to be interested in my whole life. Holy shit. Wait a minute. I can't accept this. This has got to be fake. This has got to be bullshit. This person's got to be lying to me. People will come up with all kinds of excuses in order to avoid questioning deeper things about their own life. These guys only care about science when it's convenient or for their argument. Exactly. When it's convenient for the narrative, appropriate for the narrative. Conservatives and far-right people, they love science when it's convenient to their narrative. When there's some studies that seem to convey something that they want to be true, oh boy, they are so about it. Oh man, they love it. They love it, they love it, they love it. But wait a minute. Hold on. There's some science that contradicts one of their viewpoints? Oh man, they hate that shit. Oh dude, don't tell them about that. They'll just deny it. They'll deny the factuality of it. They'll literally just deny the factuality of it. If they can't deny the factuality of it based on the premises of the study, then they'll deny the factuality of the very study itself. They'll claim that it has to be corrupt, it has to be fucked up, it can't be real, because this, and the other thing. The profit motive destroyed it. Never mind the profit motive when it comes to talking about getting universal health care. They don't find the profit motive to be a corrupting feature whenever it comes to capitalism. But for some reason, whenever you want to justify being trans or something, they always want to point out how there might be a profit motive involved for the scientists doing this research. They don't give a shit about the profit motive when it comes to tobacco lobbyists. They don't give a fuck about the profit motive when it comes to the military-industrial complex. And they don't care about the profit motive when it comes to universal health care. The only time they care about the profit motive as a philosophical object or a philosophical device is when it's useful for them to deny someone care or to deny someone care or to reduce some social program. Bro, shut the fuck up. How about you make me, bitch? You want me to shut the fuck up so bad? Why don't you make me? Oh, that's right, because you're a weak little pussy bitch that ain't never made a motherfucker do a single thing in your entire life. And never will. It's not much different than split or multiple personalities. It's way different. It's profoundly different. What the? Where? Huh? Once again, source? You're not going to find one. I'm not going to be quoted a source by this person, but goddamn if they're not convinced of their way of thinking. Enjoy your life and let other people enjoy theirs. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else, but I tend to agree with that precept. I really don't give a shit if people want to be anti-trans. Like, that's the thing. I'm not coming on here as a trans woman in order specifically to make you argue with me. I do like the fact that it encourages that kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. I love having arguments with people. Like I don't hide from that at all. But it's not the entire reason I'm coming on here. The main reason I come on here is because it's fun. I make a little money doing it. It's interesting to me. It's a good way to spend the night and smoke some weed. And that's what I'm really coming on here for. It's your choice. It's anybody out there's choice, whether or not they sit around and listen, whether or not they watch, how seriously they take me, and all that. It's ultimately up to them. Those are decisions that they have to make on their end. I cannot make them for them, nor can I make excuses for whatever their takeaway is afterwards. I just wanted to say I care about your opinion. Well, thank you, Post. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Oh, geez, no, the blouse is not new. Yeah, dude, literally, this is a 5-year-old shirt, at least. Gotta be older than that. Hell, I got this thing from a Goodwill years ago. In 2020, bro. This thing is literally got to be like 6 years old now. 6, 7, maybe 8. How do you know you're a woman? I mean, it's kind of hard to describe, I guess. Like, I understand why the question kind of eludes cisgender people, because it's like, you know, if you're born a cis woman, you probably don't have that kind of like nagging thing in your head telling you that everything is wrong. But, you know, being born assigned male at birth, I felt basically my entire life like I was, like if I wasn't hanging out with girls, I usually felt a little bit awkward, a little bit out of place. I always felt incredibly awkward and out of place in boys' or men's clothing. The older I got, the worse it got, to the point where I completely stopped looking at myself in the mirror at all for a long time. That has changed since I came out as trans. Now I can, like, you know, I still don't think I'm the most beautiful thing on the planet, but goddamn, at least I can stand to look at myself now. And I would say it's little things like that, you know, just like the perception that of the dichotomy presented to me and presented to everybody else in the form of our like binary conception of gender in Western society. I feel like I lean more towards the feminine end of that. And I always have. And I don't expect that'll ever change. Creature is quite the compliment to me. It is really it's 100% a compliment, but some people think they're being super fucking clever. Some people think they're being so clever and hurtful when they call me a creature. I'm just like, yes, I am. I'm a force of fucking nature, bitch. A creature indeed. Just wait till you see my tentacles. And a trans person existing shatters your whole mood. Fucking losers. I know. It could never be me. There is not a single group of human beings that I have so much disdain for and distaste for that merely seeing one of them would piss me off. And that includes MAGA people. Dude, if I'm having a good day, my day does not suddenly get bad because I see a fucking person wearing a Trump hat out in public. I might not even notice it. Like, honestly, I might not even note it in my head. I might just be like, oh, red hat. I might not even think that fucking hard about it, but even if I do, even if I notice that it's a MAGA hat, that's as far as the thought goes in my mind. It's like, oh, you know, moron redneck sitting over there. Right on, right on. And then it's back to my fucking, you know, back to my quarter pounder or whatever. Like, I'm not sitting there rapidly paying attention to every single other person in my periphery. Nor am I cooking up weird fantasies about what's going on the inside of their heads, which is another of the favorite activities of people that engage in this kind of behavior. Another thing that I just can't get behind and don't understand. Like, what's the impulse there? What possible pleasure does someone derive from sitting around and listening to it? Like, what possible pleasure could someone derive from sitting around listening to a trans person deride them for being a complete moron? And what kind of pleasure could someone derive from sitting around just thinking about the intricacies of another person's life without ever asking them, or without ever taking their answer seriously if you do ask them? So I just don't, I don't know that I entirely understand the motivations of people, especially like the people that troll in this chat sometimes, but whatever. Hey, you know, there's a reason why we allow everybody here. There's a reason why we encourage their participation just as hard as we encourage anybody else's. It's because troll money spends just as good as any other money does, baby. Are you a girl or a man? I am a girl. Thank you for asking. Only two genders, too? In your opinion, maybe. Your opinion does not define the reality, though. That's the problem. Your opinion on this is not what actually defines the, like, psychosocial reality of gender. The psychosocial reality of gender is something far more complicated than you are going to be able to muster up in the limited character limit you have here anyway. But even if you could, I'm sorry, I just don't trust the conceptions of conservatives when it comes to the idea of gender. guys are dedicated to this binary, and the binary is not even real. It's not even the barest concept of real. Binary gender is a myth perpetrated by generations of people in certain societies that needs to be broken, beaten, done away with. It helps no one and hurts actively. Gender is a prison. I'm not kidding. Gender is a prison. The way we look at gender in society is a prison. According to the gender norms of this society, when you are born with a penis, there is a set of expectations that comes with that in the minds of the people of our culture does not matter. It doesn't matter what you think personally, how you feel, what you're interested in, etc., etc., etc. If you do not meet those standards or match up to those goals, you are illegitimate as a man. And the same exists for women. If you are born as a woman in this world, if you're assigned female at birth, you will be given an entire sack of expectations that comes along with that. And when you don't meet those expectations, there will be people who deride you for that. Meaning, there is a strong social impetus to engage in certain behaviors that are completely innocuous in terms of their relationship to sex and to gender. But you will be compelled into these behaviors not out of any actual biological necessity, not out of any instinctual desire, but out of social pressure, for fear that if you don't engage in these behaviors, you will be ostracized from your gender group and will therefore have less community than you would otherwise. Humans, being social animals, are very apt to behave in ways that they know will satisfy their social group, even if they recognize ultimately on some level that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This gender is an example of that. So I'll repeat it again. Gender, especially as it exists in the modern day in Western society, is a prison. Bitch, check your Cash App. Glitch, dash, send in the fucking the fucking tax-free tip again, dude. What a fucking mensch. Motherfuckers, y'all have no idea how much I love Glitch Dash. Glitch Dash, a cool dude. Hi there, can I ask where you personally find hope? Is it in your loved ones? Is it in yourself? Hope? I don't know that I have a whole lot of hope. I mean, that's not to say that I'm hopeless, right? Because I think like hopelessness is a different emotion. I think that there are ways, little ways, that you can make your life better. I think that there are little ways, that you can make the world better and your community better. And I put I put trust in those, not really faith even. I put trust in those because I can see the observable effects of small-time activism on the things around us, right? All it takes is one really invested person in the community to get a bunch of other people on board and start a community garden. But it always starts with one person. One, maybe two, but usually one, because there's one person that brings up the idea. Even if it's three people at the founding, one person had to bring up the idea. They didn't simultaneously see it at once, Might be two cases of that in the whole world. So it starts with one little decision. One person deciding to do something that doesn't seem that important in the moment, but it grows, it cascades into something greater. That is how things are done. That is how things change, gradually, but with more rapidity when people care about it more. With more rapidity when people are actively aware that that's how things get done, and people aren't largely aware of that anymore, especially not in rural communities, which is ironic because us folks living in rural communities love to pretend like we're all, loving our neighbors and living like they used to and all that shit. No, none of us talk to our fucking neighbors. Are you kidding? But the same is true of small towns and many large cities as well. So the truth of it is, what do I find hope in? I guess the closest thing I find to hope is found in those things that I just described to you. community activism, national level activism, state activism, just activism in general. Conversation. I put a lot of faith and I put a lot of stock in conversation, you know. I think that there's a real fucking tremendous value to it. I think it can change the world. I think it can certainly change people's opinions. Not overnight, not all at once, but over time. Over repeated contacts. Modernity provides the option for rural folks to choose to be a part of the village or choose not to be, which is the other problem, right? See, the divide between rural people, you just touched upon something really smart, which you always were good at that. You just touched upon something really good though, Taylor, is that like in the days when America's rural class really got established, like in the days of like if you even look back to my dad's parents' time, right, or the people that raised my dad, which would be my great grandparents, basically. If you look back at his grandfather and grandmother's time, when they were first, I'm not first, but like when they were young, right? My great grandpa would have been working, doing logging and stuff like that, I think, and my great grandmother at that time would have been a homemaker. It was incredibly rural out here. Most of the roads that existed at all were dirt roads, gravel roads, hardly ever traveled down. Cars weren't really widely introduced to this area and to the backwoods kind of areas of this area until like the 1920s or something like that. And for a long time, you really didn't have much of an option to be part of the village, like you said. You couldn't just go into the city if you wanted to, if you were a rural person 200 years ago. You had to plan that shit. I mean, 13 miles sounds like nothing nowadays because you just take the highway there and you do so in a car that's going 60 miles an hour. So it takes you about 13 minutes. Back in the day, a 13-mile journey might be a day and a half. Depending on how fast you were able to go and how much you were carrying, how accustomed you were to trips like that, etc., etc. There are definitely people who could have done it in a day. But, you know, it wasn't the custom. Climate change lifeboats, you will either be in a bunker or not, dude. People have all kinds of crazy fantasies about how humanity is going to magic its way through the fucking climate collapse, but I'll be honest with you guys, one of the big reasons why I advocate for the things I do is because I think, genuinely, that we are headed squarely towards destruction. I think we are headed towards a fate where we are no longer able to produce enough oil to sustain our society, civilization collapses, and we are basically reduced to the Stone Age. I'm a primitivist out of sad feelings about our fate, not necessarily because I think that that's actually how humanity should go, which is why I don't really talk about primitivism anymore, because I think that more important than, or as important, in my opinion, to like, as important as getting people prepared for the collapse is, in my opinion, it's just as important to try and avert the collapse if we can. And I think we still can, but it's going to require massive, massive, massive fucking preparations. It's going to require complete sea change. And every single day we postpone this sea change, every single day we postpone this massive fucking structural shift from how we do things now to some new way of being. Every time we prolong that shit is another day less that we have to fix things before they get too bad to even be worth trying. Primitivism, we now call that retard maxing. No, I don't know, Riley. I think you're too harsh on the primitivists. A lot of us are not like I said. I used to call myself an anarcho-primitivist, and the reason I don't anymore is because like I kept arguing with myself and with other people about this like notion, right? That I really don't want primitivism when it comes to the things I advocate for. None of it is primitivist shit. But on the other hand, I do see it as kind of like an inevitable outcome of our civilization as it exists right now if things continue to go unchecked. You know, if we don't do anything about the massive fucking issues that we're facing, climate-wise and otherwise, we're just gonna burn out like a little cinder, you know? And if we don't if we don't get a handle on climate change, right? If we don't get a handle on moving over to sustainable forms of power and production, then we are going to be fucking doomed to a primitivist lifestyle eventually. Because it will eventually get to the point where there's not enough oil to support civilization anymore. There's not enough of it to keep everything going, and things are going to collapse. That collapse will happen super fucking quickly. While certain things will hold on, you know, I don't know how long. As long as we've got the sun in the sky and relative access to it, I guess we'll always have the ability to brew ethanol. But you're telling me we're going to have enough support for ethanol all across the nation's massive fleet of internal combustion engine vehicles. We're going to have enough support for ethanol-based fuel to completely transition over to that before we run out of oil? I don't think so. A lot of people are resistant to the technology, and I can see why. Because ethanol is less efficient than gasoline. Now, it's got the added benefit of being something we can make, you know? So it's like, whatever. We use more of it, but we can also make it. We can't make oil. That's why my thing is always like, people will assume shit about my politics all the time. And one of the things that they'll assume about me is that I'm just like a super fucking passionate advocate for electric cars and electrification of the grid. And I'm like, not really. No, I'm like, I'm an advocate for biofuels, a combined solution of, I do think more electrification would be good, especially when it comes to personal conveyances. I mean, electric cars are way more efficient than gas cars. They do way more with the energy. They use way less energy to do more with it, basically. I don't know how else to put it. That's basically the efficiency equation there for you. You know? Like, an electric car uses the energy that was required to put its batteries onto full more efficiently than a car uses the energy that was expended to put gas in its tank. And I'm not talking about the energy of like you putting the, shit in there. I'm literally talking about the massive fucking the oil drilling operations, the refining operations, the shipping operations, the storaging operations, all of this shit. How about our emergency services switch to full electric? See how that works? You realize there are already a bunch of police departments that have adopted Teslas? What a fucking profoundly stupid statement. Dude, this is a person that you can tell has no familiarity with the issue. You just said a profoundly ignorant thing, friend. Do you want to take that back? Do you want to go look into it? Go look it up. Electric police car. Go look it up at all. Literally, go look it up. Go find all the different police departments that are getting electric vehicles introduced to their fleet. Because they recognize the fucking efficiency. They recognize that it's cheaper for them to operate electric vehicles than it is for them to operate internal combustion vehicles. And it's just it's a very cheap equation of efficiency when it comes to this particular topic. And furthermore, the main obstacle in the way of electrification of the roadways in America, a big obstacle to it is just like the pricing. It's hard for regular people to get into an electric car because they're pretty expensive. It's not very hard for a police department to get into an electric car, though, because it doesn't matter that it's expensive when it's coming out of the taxpayer. So you just said a thing of profound ignorance, but you're not going to take it back. Why would you? Wow, people listen to you? Yeah, 80 people so far. Speaking of 80 people, make sure you guys hit that like button. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have fucking like 56 likes, counting the 16 we have already. So please, if you haven't done that already, please hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's a chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. That's what we're trying to do here, if you can't tell. Speaking of that, too, one last final plug. Make sure you send a super chat if you would like to get your question or comment read or answered. I do read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. I'm profoundly ignorant? Well, what a great argument you've made, friend. What an amazing appeal you've made. What a great argument, literally. I'm ignorant. Oh my God, consider myself defeated. Holy shit. I don't think I've ever been hit with an insult so crushing as that. I don't know. I figured I'd give you an animated response because I figured you were looking for one. Because, like, that is the weakest shit I've ever read in my entire life. I don't think you realize just how weak that shit was. That was like if you poured, like, a shot full of tea into a cup and filled the rest of it up with water and gave it to somebody and, like, here's your tea. Bit weak, isn't it? What emergency service you work for, Tater? I would really like to know. Yeah, what emergency service you work for? Dude, you know what? It's a cop, Taylor. It's a cop. You know why? Because nobody other than a cop euphemizes their job like that. Nobody other than a cop feels the need to fucking euphemize their job like that. Dude, an EMT calls themselves an EMT. A fireman calls themselves a fireman. But a cop, trying not to be called out as a cop, says they work in emergency services, bro. You just have to know how to look out for euphemisms, man. I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying the rest of you guys who don't, that's what you got to look out for. Euphemistic language. When we have you pegged, Tater, you're a cop, ain't you? That's what I said. I said EMTs call themselves EMTs. They don't say they work in emergency services. And if you did, then, like, I don't know why you're switching up now. I don't know why you felt the need to euphemize your job 5 minutes ago. Oh my God, whatever, dude. I don't even give a shit. Okay, fine. You work in a warehouse and you're sucking dick for cops or something. I don't even know. I don't even know what the narrative in the chat is about you, my friend. And now that I'm actually reading your chats, you don't be making that much sense, to be honest with you, dog. I don't know that I, am going to be, entirely... I don't know that there's much revelation that's going to come from further engagement with your comments in particular. He's a warehouse cop. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Humble Player thinks he's got it figured out, bro. Humble Player thinks he's got it figured out. Watch people continue watching the stream anyway. Watch people. Literally. Your comment is not going to make a fucking dent. As much as you would love it to. Unfortunately, I'm way more entertaining than that. It would or so, right? Would or so. We watch because it's hilarious, laughing at people that think and speak like you do. I bet you couldn't quantify that in any way. That what was the word? Well, how did you put it? That think and speak like I do. How do I think and speak? Describe it in specific terms. Like, use specific terminology and describe how I think and speak. Why do I get the impression you're not going to be able to do that very basic task? Like, what could make me possibly so convinced of that? Bro, you should research dialectical materialism. Lamau, he does kind of sound like a normie lib, LMAO. Vosh or Destiny? No, wait. No, can't be Destiny. Vosh or Hassan? You know, come on, dude. Come on. You've played your hand. There are two people who produce your kind of person. It's Vosh and Hassan. Which one are you an outgrowth of? Well, fuck. All right. You're right. There's a third one. There's actually multiple, I guess. Beef speaks like a normie, down to earth, relatable. Do I speak like a normie? Okay, you know what? Fuck it. I don't give a shit. I'm a crazy far leftist, but whatever. If I talk like a normie, that's fine. In fact, I consider it a benefit. So, poll in the chat, because I hear fucking both sides of this shit. Yeah, it's a wild thing about it, right? On the one hand, I hear people calling me pretentious all the time and saying that I talk like I'm some kind of like lefty professor or some shit like that. But then I hear other people saying that I sound like a shit lib. So, do I sound like a normie or not? 1 in the chat if I sound like a normie. 2 if I sound like some kind of political radical of some stripe. 3 for the manatee. Always 3 for the manatee. Dude, I should have known this fucking chat would not be able to come to any kind of consensus on how I talk. Oh boy. Saying oh boy is kind of what gives the normie vibe. Bro, what? And you know what's also wild? Oh, dude, you know what's also wild is the fact that there's like an entire subreddit full of people that one of their primary hobbies is telling me that I speak exactly like some kind a specific like lefty YouTuber, and that it's just funny, right? It's funny that you picked up on that phrase, and it's also funny to me that the way you interpreted my manner of speech makes you think that I'm not juiced in with like lefty YouTube or whatever. I don't know how to put it. I just think it's an interesting thing, right? Given some of the fucking arguments I've had lately. But you don't know anything about that. You keep asking me what variation of leftist I am. And my it's kind of a convoluted answer, but if I'm talking to another leftist, it's like it's more easily understood than if I were talking to a conservative. So hopefully there'll be less steps to explaining it. I would consider myself an anarcho-syndicalist in the long term and a market socialist in the short term. I think that, I think, as Marx did, that there will be a transitional time, even between what we have right now and what I think we could eventually have in the future, if we start going the right direction. And pretty quickly, too, given all the climate disaster that we're facing, given the multiple fronts of tension escalating in the world. I think that we've got to make this change pretty rapidly, but if that we do get pointed in the right direction, we could eventually live in a world where all work is done cooperatively, where human beings are taking care of one another voluntarily and living more fruitful, rewarding lives full of less drudgery and more happiness, less anger and more creativity. But I think that getting to that place from here, from where we're at right now, requires getting people familiar with some basic tenets of some kind of anarcho-futurist utopia, you know? I think if you want to get people used to the ideas that'll eventually come in that potential hypothetical anarcho-syndicalist utopia, I think one of the things you have to do is get people used to the idea of the common good, or the common effort being applied towards the common good when it comes to basic human necessities. That's why I say I'm a market socialist in the near term, because I think that within the next 30 to 40 years, if hopefully we've got that long, I could see us completely removing any kind of human need from the marketplace, but leaving luxuries and creature comforts, that kind of thing, to the marketplace until the next movement of hardcore lefties comes around and takes it to like whatever the next step is, probably a UBI. And after you've got the UBI established, I mean, that's not a far cry from a pretty socialist place in general. I mean, ultimately, it's a form of socialism that kind of creates a weird little microcosm within a broader capitalist world. But I think it is definitely a step towards getting people ready for that eventual complete transition. As far as like exporting communism internationally, I think that would happen naturally as soon as one of these big giant countries starts to move in that direction. I think that you already are starting to see the progressivization of certain places that are near to Europe or that Europe has influence over due to the progressivization of Europe. And that's despite the fact that Europe's kind of been going to the right a little bit in recent years. Man, Gav asked for that complex explanation and then just fucking dipped. I hate it when a motherfucker does that. Don't sit around waiting for my explanation and then dip out the second I give you my explanation. Well, if you're still here, then fucking type your criticisms or something, because, like, fuck, this could be interesting, but it's not going to be interesting if you don't come, like, with anything. The only thing I read from you when I scrolled up a little bit was something about me needing to read more theory, and it's like, what a fucking generic insult, dude. Like, literally. Do you realize that's literally like the generic leftist in-group insult, you know? Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, so do you. So does everybody. So does me, so does you, so does everybody. You're saying you read every fucking piece of theory that's out there? No? Then you need to read more. Do you think I have any fucking illusions as to my state of well-readedness or whatever? I know that's not the right way to say that, but I can't think of the right phrase. Do you think I've got any illusions about that? No. I know that I need to read more theory. I also don't think that theory actually informs all that much about what actually needs to be done in the modern day, right now, to improve people's lives. I think you can do quite a bit of political advocacy without ever picking up a fucking textbook. Evidence, proof, look at Harlan County, USA. Good old documentary about the rise of the United Mine Workers Association in Harlan County, Kentucky in the 70s. I'm not to say the union didn't exist before the 70s. It had existed, but standards had slipped quite a bit. And they had to do a whole big upswell of activism. And the company pushed back hard. Gun thugs hard. And those people fought. And they won. They won massive concessions for their shop. And many of these men had probably never in their adult life read a book that wasn't the Bible. That being said, I actually have read, I've read the Communist Manifesto, so that's like a very basic piece of leftist literature that I've read. That might actually be the only piece of like strictly leftist theory that I've read. But I'm also of the opinion that like anytime you're reading something that's got a leftist tinge to it, you're seeing theory, being translated through the filter of that person's imagination and their perceptions about it. So I think that there are probably a lot of people who, like me, have absorbed quite a bit of leftism through the media that we've consumed and conversations that we've had, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Gav, I'll be honest with you. We can agree on that. I didn't find it very enlightening. Like, I'm glad to hear from someone who has read a lot of theory. Well, I'll take you at your word. I'm assuming that if you're going to insult me about not having read enough theory, I'm going to assume you're a master at it or whatever. But, I didn't find it a very compelling piece either. And I found quite a bit to disagree with. Not least of all, this idea of the lumpen proletariat. I think it's retarded. I don't know. Like, maybe you can give me some example as to how it's not. But I spent quite a bit of time homeless, about 2 years. I guess that's not a lot of time in some people's heads, but it felt like a long time for me. I fucking goddamn guarantee you that. And that was actually the period of my life where I radicalized the most. That was when I was absorbing the most, I used to listen to quite a bit of leftist theory in lecture format or discussion-based format, listening to different people be interviewed or give lectures or talks or do debates. And I'm not necessarily talking about YouTubers. I mean, I was watching that shit too, but I'm talking about people, fucking actual leftist advocates and people actually on the ground that believe in these issues, journalists and shit like that, doing that kind of thing. It was also the time in my life where I had the most exposure to other leftists. I mean, everybody I was traveling with at that time, I was traveling with 2 other people, and one of them was pretty well read on theory. The other was kind of well read on theory, and then there was my ass, who at that point hadn't even read the manifesto. At that point, I was just like, fuck yeah. So leftists are the people who like unions and are cool with gay people and all about civil rights and shit. That was my conception of it at the time. I've got a, I think a pretty like nuanced viewpoint these days, like full of complexities and little divots and all that. But it was nice to be surrounded by them because they could like help fill in the gaps where I would be like wondering something aloud. They would actually have the answer for it. And come off as incredibly self-absorbed. Doesn't every YouTuber? No, I guess that's not true. There's definitely some of them that definitely come off as not nearly so egotistical. But I feel like most of the people in this weird, like, vlogging, I'm going to sit here and feed my opinions kind of space, most of us are kind of, we're a little narcissistic. At least a little bit. Good, bad, right, or wrong, it's a tendency. I wish Ladanian was still here. I was interested in what he was saying. Aw. Well, no, there he is. There he is. Yeah. What was Ladanian saying? Dude, I just be like, I'll straight up ignore people if they're not saying something that I personally find interesting. I wish I didn't have to type all of this. Well, there is text to speech, or speech to text. The book Blithe by Michael Parenti is really good. Black Shirts and Reds. Okay. Interesting. Aww. Well, I'm fucking, I mean, Taylor. I ain't gotta explain myself, Leave it to me. It's not the first joke I've ruined, probably not gonna be the last. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. I haven't pimped it that much this stream because we haven't gone into like the hundreds or whatever. But yeah, hit that like button if you haven't done it already. Really helps the channel. Helps the stream too. It helps Westerners understand the anti-Soviet propaganda. My thing is, I know the West creates just as much propaganda as any other country does. Hell, the West kind of perfected propaganda, depending on whose perspective you take on the matter. And I also know that it's difficult to discern propaganda from truth when it comes to something that you can't get personal experience with. And so my thing is, I've always wondered how much of what we hear about China and the Soviet Union is true, how much of it is false. Like, how much of the reporting out of there is true versus how much of the reporting out of there is false. And I don't know. It's hard for me to take a hardcore stance on it because I feel like everybody I've ever heard speak on the issue has a narrative-based reason why they would feel one way or the other. It's like hardcore communist types will like argue like, oh man, it was all propaganda. They weren't nearly that bad. But I, can't help but feel like part of their motivation for doing that is to run cover for organizations that they falsely, in my opinion, believe that they have to, they have to carry water for because, like, oh, well, these are the examples of leftism in the world. I don't think they were. I don't think leftists need to carry water for the Soviet Union. I think we can say, yeah, that was, not a very functional system. Probably should have been different. Seems like there was quite a bit of elitism going on despite all the communist overtones. But once again, I know the influence of propaganda, I know the power of it, so what if that's all just bullshit? Like, what if there's like some wide world of exploration I can do about Russia, where I can, read like a completely different perspective. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Why are you wearing a blouse? Because I wanted to? Because it's pretty? I don't know. What do you mean? The old Soviet Union became cannibals because of your beliefs? I would argue that Stalin corrupted what could have been a pretty interesting experiment in the art of socialism. That is my opinion about the Soviet Union. And somebody, I guess, more informed can tell me if I'm wrong about that. But here's what I've kind of deduced from what, admittedly, little reading I've done about the Soviet Union. It seems like most of the people who were involved in the Bolshevik Revolution were probably interested in creating an actually leftist, communist society, eventually, starting with a socialist state in the interim. And I think Stalin was way more interested in personal power, in setting himself up for the rest of his life, and having this, this drive fulfilled. I think that basically served as like a corrupting influence eventually that ended up destroying what Soviet Russia could have been had it only been Lenin and Trotsky and fucking, oh man. Don't let the names of the old leftist heroes fail you now, Phoebe. I got nothing. Ali, I remembered two of them, okay? And I remembered one more than the average American would have remembered, which is Trotsky. So, objectively bad take on Stalin, lol. Nothing I can say would do more than reading Black Shirts and Reds. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So what is your take? That Stalin was actually a good guy? Or what? I don't know. Like, here's the thing about me. I feel like you got mad at me, and something's still sticking with me, right? Something's still sticking with me, and that's why I feel the need to say this. You cast an aspersion at me earlier. Something about I need to read more theory, and it was said as like a dismissal of something I'd said. And I feel like the presumption there is that I feel like it's an inherently elitist presumption, and I want to call it out directly because I don't know that I did correctly earlier. I don't know that I did with the right amount of passion. So let me say it again, directly. You can be a total fucking hick and still have the right opinions. You can be a total fucking hick and still know what's going on in the world. With the technology we have today and all of the fucking perspectives that you can listen to, even if you don't have time to sit and read or go to the library and find the actual texts that you're looking for, even if you don't have the money to sign up for Audible or something like that. There are endless amounts of audiobooks on YouTube. There are endless amounts of all kinds of information available on the internet. And almost everybody in America has a cell phone. So there is no longer any excuse to be a fucking self-righteous dumbass. It's just it's a decision that some people make in order to satisfy some broader narrative in their personal life, in my opinion. I think that a lot of people base their politics off of what's convenient for them to believe in. I don't. But I just wasn't born with that fucking supplicant gene, I guess. Hey, some people yap all day about Jesus and pretends that does something. Yeah, I mean, hey, we're all out here pretending what we're doing is doing something. We're all out here kidding ourselves. I'm just honest about it. I know the shit I advocate for is a fucking dream as fucking unobtainable as pie in the sky. I might as well be telling you, you will lead by and by in that glorious land up in the sky, way up high, work and pray, and live on hay, and you'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie! We have free will to bring glory to creation, but some want us to believe that life doesn't matter. I don't really think life does matter. I mean, like, not in the grand scheme of things, not to fucking, like, on a universal scale, but I think life matters intensely to the people living it, and the animals living it, and if you're a panpsychist like me, the, trees and plants and everything living it, I don't know, like, to me, it's pretty easy to see why things matter on an individual level, with or without God. With God, things matter even more because now you've got hell to worry about and heaven and all this other shit. You've got all this implication added on top of the equation. But to a regular human being, the world is still full of wonder. The world is still full of, the world is still full of meaning. The world is still full of purpose. I think purposelessness comes not from an actual lack of purpose anywhere in the universe. Like, I don't think it's that there's none to be found. I think it's that some people, for whatever reason, I think it varies from person to person, have a problem feeling like their life neatly fits into that equation. They don't feel like there's anything in their life that sets them apart in that way, that gives them the meaning and purpose that they associate with people that they think are, doing right. I'm still wondering what this live stream is about. How long have you been here, Philly? Because if it's more than a minute and you've been listening this whole time and you don't know what the fucking live stream is about, that is tragically sad. It's about whatever people want it to be about. I sit and yap, and I look at the chat when I run out of steam, and they give me another fucking round of steam to go off of, and that's the fucking exchange here. Speaking of which, if you're enjoying our little exchange here, real people having actual hard conversations about topics that matter, consider sending a super chat. It's a great way to financially support the channel, but it's also a great way to get your comment or question read or answered. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS, so thank you so much. Good night, Taylor. I can't blame you. It's late. I always do these late, though. That's a flaw of mine, you might say. We're going to have to go get some wood in a second. Can't he just think that into being so? Why did he have to die? What? Huh? Okay, anyway, I'm going to read Gav's comment, because so far they've been pretty smart. The purpose of life is to live a life with purpose. I hate that sounds like a tautology, but I also can't really argue with it in substance. Like, yeah, I kind of think you're right. As pithy and fucking clever as that is, I think that you're ultimately correct. Yeah, if there is any point to life, it's to live a life where you've found some kind of source of purpose, of meaning. Love and adoration are nice if you can get them, but you usually can't get those. $2? Will I support debate of any kind? Well, thank you, Billy. I appreciate the $2. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what we're doing here. I guess I ended up giving you the explanation even after I chastised you. But, you know, you took it on the chin, which is respectable immensely. A lot of people just get really butthurt about it. But that's just how I am. It's like, would you prefer that I butter your ass, you know? And the answer most people give is no. So, some people call it autism. I call it being upfront. But yeah, no. That's what this stream is about, ultimately. So, Gav, what is your fucking political alignment? Because you've been grilling me about mine, but I don't know fuck or all about yours. And you've got me curious, so hit me with your best shot. Fire away. Oh man, these things break up so nicely, dry out so nicely. Whenever they're fresh, or not fresh, but whenever they're aged. They have to be aged for like 2 years, though. I don't even know what kind of tree it is, but it's some kind of tree that the saplings make amazing fire sticks. But you gotta let them, like I said, you gotta let them age for a couple years. They'll get real dry. And they're good. Really good for purpose. Alrighty. Shit. That wasn't supposed to happen. Sorry, I'm building my fire back up because it's not really cold out here, but I do like the lighting effect quite a bit. Alrighty. Your teeth look like rust. You realize I'm standing right next to a fire, and it's going to color literally everything you see, right? I mean, surely I don't have to walk you through the concept of color. Surely to God. Please tell me things have not gotten that bad. There's another one. Okay. Nice. Okay. Give me 1 second. What conclusion did you come to about Charlie Kirk's accused killer? Give me just a second and I'll answer that. Alrighty. Okay. So what conclusion did I come to about the Charlie Kirk killer? Charlie Kirk's assassin? I haven't come to any conclusion yet because the case has not been adjudicated yet. So I'm of the opinion that we don't know shit or fuck all about what's going on right now. I think that there's a lot of conjecture going on. That's one of the things I have in the title, is that there's all kinds of speculation swirling about Charlie Killer and about the assassination in general. And honestly, I think the reason for that speculation is fucking super plain to see, which is that for some fucking reason, the Trump regime is universal and collective in its, like, tendency to leak shit to the press and its willingness to share shit with the media. They want constant coverage. They want constant fucking coverage. And oh, I guess it's a siren. Dude, I'm captivated. I'm utterly captivated by this siren. Siren is a nice pace, change of pace from the train. I have to agree. What the fuck, bros? Bro. Bruh. What the fuck just happened? Okay, so we heard that siren. I knew it was a cop siren from just the sound of it. I just knew. I knew it had to be a cop siren. And I was kind of thinking, honestly, I'll be straight up with you guys. Part of me keeps expecting to get swatted eventually, because I know it happened to so many people on the internet. I know it doesn't happen as much anymore, but it's always a concern of mine. Or somebody just like calling the cops on my house in general, which I guess is like swatting, no matter how, like, what the purpose is, you know, whether they're trying to get the whole SWAT team out there or not. So there was an intrusive thought that kept going through my head. I guess you could classify it as an intrusive thought. Kept going through my head, like, what if they come up this road? What if it's for me, you know? And they turned off the siren when they turned up the road, but they fucking took off up the road, hit that, God, they hit that level crossing hard as shit. I don't hear any more activity, so I guess maybe that was the only one that we're gonna see tonight. What are you, a wanted felon? No, I'm just a streamer, so, I worry about swatting. Like, even though, as far as I know, I haven't been doxxed or anything like that, it's still something I worry about. Damn it. Sorry, I was tending to the fire for a second. What's going on? What's going on now? I don't even know what's going on in the chat right now, bro. Yeah, no, slavery never ended. Slavery just got changed a little bit. You can't do it openly anymore, you know, as openly at least. You can't brag about it the same way. Can't talk about it the same way. But to act like the problem is gone, now that would just be silly. Called it Antifa trans dork. Well, I am definitely a dork. I'm definitely trans. And yes, I am definitely anti-fascist. So yeah, I guess. What's wrong with that? To catch you up, we worship Booby now, and we are still waiting to hear what happened. America is free? I mean, if you're not in prison, sure. But you can still be sentenced to slavery as a punishment. That's what being sentenced to prison is in a lot of states. They won't let you get away with just not working. Anyway, yeah, so we're still waiting to hear what happened. So I don't know what happened exactly. I just know that I was real worried, but the fucking cop car took up off, you know, down the road with its lights still on, you know, gunning the engine all hard, hit the level crossing super fucking hard. I'll be shocked if that cop car didn't damage something on the undercarriage. People that don't go up and down this road often don't know that no matter how fast you want to go up this road, the harder you hit that thing, the more damage you're going to do to your fucking suspension, not to mention anything that might be sticking down on your undercarriage. It's just not a good idea. Fucking creep over the intersection, get your back tires on the road where it picks back up, and then start gunning it and going up all fast and shit if you absolutely have to, you know. Dude, to this day, if I go over a level crossing that I can't see visually is level completely, you know, like actually meaningfully level, you know, I will still take that shit so gingerly, because the one next to my house has just taught me, bro. They're coming for you? Nah. Nah, I was worried I was getting something like that for a second, but nah. Nah, they weren't looking for my ass. I know y'all would like it a lot more if it were that deep, but I don't think it was that deep. What is a fascist to you? Well, thank you for the $2. I appreciate that a lot. So I think the definition I always go back to is Benito Mussolini's definition, who defined it as like an incestuous relationship, basically between corporate interests, the interests of capital, and state interests, that they become married into one thing that feeds on one another, maintains the pretenses of disconnection and separation, but fundamentally operates as a hand-in-glove entity. And I think under that definition, America's been operating like that for a while. I think that when you get into more detailed definitions, such as those suggested by Umberto Eco, you start to have little markers you can look for. Reduction in freedom of the press and suppression of free speech is one of them. We've got that. At least we've got the beginning signs of it. We've definitely got a president that's trying that as hard as he can. Can you give me an example of fascism? Sure. I can give you a bunch of examples of fascism. I think the most famous examples that come to mind immediately are Benito Mussolini's Italy and Adolf Hitler's Germany. Those are probably the two most prominent examples that people will usually reference, right? Very authoritarian, totalitarian societies where you were not allowed to speak your mind if it went against the regime. You were not allowed to be anyone other than a very specific kind of person. There were certain jobs that were forbidden, certain art practices that were forbidden, all kinds of different types of expression, honestly, were forbidden in these societies. Thank you for the $2, by the way. Like those like little $2 donations, they stack up, so I appreciate it. I'm gonna keep hearting them. I also think that fascism is one of those things that operates in degrees. I think that fascism as like open fascism can be described as a system like Nazi Germany or Mussolini's Italy. But when it comes to fascism as a broader term, as a broader phenomena, removed from those two, being, I think, the most extreme examples of it, you can find a lot of things on the spectrum from very questionably right-wing to, yeah, that's fascist. And I think America exists somewhere on that continuum as a country. I recognize that as a people, America's pretty progressive, honestly. As a people, America's pretty progressive. As a country, though, America is incredibly, incredibly conservative, in my opinion, to the point of being fascistic. And that has only become like an increasingly prescient problem with the Trump administration, who has, he was one of the people who pressured ABC to let go of Jimmy Kimmel for a while. Now, it was just a suspension pending, a further decision, and they decided to bring him back because the outcry was just immediate and huge. Because, wouldn't you know it, MAGA ain't everybody, as it turns out. As it turns out, MAGA's like less than a third of the country. So there was a big outcry of support for Jimmy Kimmel, even among people like me who don't really even watch him. We were like, oh, fuck you guys. Dude, this is just a cheap fucking way for you guys to can somebody that wasn't getting the ratings you like. Had nothing to do with the fucking comments that he made or anything like that, but you fucking sure do want a virtue signal to that Trump administration, don't you? Pussies. That's my problem with it. If they were actually going to fire him for his ratings, I think they should have waited a month. A lot of people fail to understand the difference between right and left, honestly. Of course, you also have to understand that America's got a pretty strange definition of it. Like in America, gun ownership is seen as like an exclusively right-wing position. It's not. You can be a strong advocate for gun rights and be a strong advocate for universal health care, universal suffrage, universal civil rights, the rights of trans people, etc. Short memory, liberals canceled many conservatives, even the president of the USA, Trump. You can't cancel the president, moron. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. I know that's harsh. I know that's like a mean thing to say to somebody, but you cannot cancel the president. The president is one of those people that's immune to cancellation. If you're able to make it to the position of president, congratulations. Whatever anybody did to try and cancel you just became null and void. You're the president now, bitch. The president is the one who sets the narrative. The president is increasingly like a demagogue figure that the American people kind of look up to for their personal direction as well as their political direction. So you rise to that point as an American politician, congratulations, because you've basically figured out the secret life hack. We love your liquidy sludge shit-filled diapers, Daddy Trump. Yeah, we love how much you stink every time you enter a room, Daddy Trump. We love how much you're fucking, we love how much your Benson syndrome fucking makeup job looks so jarring. We love that. Oh my god. These people are brain broken. Some of them. I don't think not everybody that voted Republican is brain broken. Plenty of people that voted Trump for whatever stupid ass reason that ain't the stupid ass reasons these folks voted for Trump. But these folks, the motherfuckers that find the time and the motivation to argue with me the way they do in this chat, they are fucking brain broken. I still have conversations with them because you never know. You never know when a seed might be planted. But goddamn, I really don't expect nothing but weeds in that patch. I don't expect no crops, that's for sure. Says the man in a blouse. There's a man in a blouse? Where? Why is such a dark stream? Because I'm sitting out by a campfire. Because the vibes are supreme. I'm literally sitting right next to a campfire and enjoying a smoke, you know? Yo, what? You're outside? Yes, I am indeed outside. Why has there not been a Democrat with similar ideologies to JFK, since we can all admit he was very successful until he was assassinated? Because the Democrats have been on a long, slow march to the right ever since JFK's vice, President Johnson, was, termed out or whatever. So that era was the last era of what I would consider actually kind of left-wing Dems. And it's funny because that's still during the era of the party switch, too. That's like in the midst of these parties starting to become known for different things. No, I know the Dems aren't left. The Dems aren't left, but they used to be way more left than they are now. Like, if you look at the Johnson administration. These people don't believe in the party switch, obviously, which is the weirdest fucking shit to me because it's just fucking obvious. Like, you look at history, you can tell. The party switched tactics. It started in the fucking the 20s, I think. I think it started in the 20s. I know FDR is like considered like the first modern Democrat, and he was first elected in the early 30s. So like 1932, I think. I can do the math. Yeah, that would track. Yeah. And I believe he was elected in 1942 or 1932, I mean. So, you know, 100 years ago, the Democratic Party used to stand for some arguably socialist shit. Nowadays, the Democratic Party stands for nothing. That's why so many people like me and a lot of the people who voted Trump who aren't hardcore MAGA addicts feel the way that we do. Is because we look at, and you know, I can't speak for those people who voted like that, but as far as like people like me who are just like politically checked out when it comes to national level elections, we look at the Republican Party and we see a party that's actively focused on corporatism, actively focused on depriving the working person of the full value of their labor, actively interested in that horrible enterprise. And we look at the Democratic Party and we see a party full of people that claim they're all about helping working people get what they deserve, but they actually don't do a whole lot on that topic. Like, they don't actually do much about it. They like to talk a big game about it, but they don't like to actively, fundamentally do much about it. Why don't you run for an office? I've thought about it. I ain't gonna lie. I've done me some thinking about it. And maybe when I like, honestly, I don't know. I've thought about it. That's as much as I want to say. I probably couldn't do it, you know, but who knows? Like, small town kind of local office kind of shit, I bet I could. I bet I could run a really good campaign too. Party of rainbows and leather chokers. God bless them. God bless them. I just saw something walking behind you. Probably a cow. Phoebeville, population 1. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do it. On the reels, one of the reasons why I say I've thought about it and not I'm going to do it someday is because, like, one of the things about me is that I genuinely would like to live in a more rural place than I live right now. And I already live in a pretty rural place. But you know what? That shit with the cop earlier, I don't like to have to fucking be that close to cop shit going on. I literally get so fucking anxious. Like, to this day, from being on the road, I get so goddamn anxious when I see those lights. Because that can fuck up everything, dude. Oh my god. Cops can fuck up so much. And you really get a hardcore taste of that if you're, you know, homeless, basically. And even now that I've been housed for a couple of years, I still have those instincts. I still have that, like, baseline, ass-puckering kind of fear whenever I see a cop drive by. So in an ideal world, in an ideal life, I would move to somewhere, number one, with a better climate that gets more rain more regularly. Or even if it gets less rain, more regular rain would be fine. If not more regular rain, even if it was the same amount, I would like to live somewhere cooler. But most importantly, I would like to live somewhere where I can have like 25 acres and have a long ass driveway like half a mile long or something like that, into the heart of it, where I've got some land cleared out and everything, and I've got a house in the middle of that with a couple of shade trees out in front, a nice big porch, you know, not big house. Definitely a sizable porch, and that house would be big enough, don't get me wrong, but like I would want to put my studio outside of the house so I wouldn't have to worry about space for that. I would probably end up like, dude, I've thought about this. I call it my fantasy dream, or my win the lottery fantasy. Okay, this is my win the lottery fantasy. I would move somewhere, probably to Missouri, because you can cultivate your own weed there. It's totally rec legal and all that. Probably move to Missouri, buy like 25 to 30 acres, preferably with the heart of it already logged out and everything. But if not, buy it, hire a uh, hire a crew to um, like log and build a driveway all the way out to the heart of it with a couple of curves in it too, you know. Clear out a big space in the middle of it. Leave myself at least 2 acres worth of woods on either side. I don't know if that was that police or not. Anyway, but I'd give myself enough room to have like at least 2 acres worth of cleared space in width and maybe 3 acres worth in height in the middle, and then an additional, you know, that much worth of space woods on either side of that, and then the excess on either fucking end of it. Some arrangement like that with probably a double wide in the middle of it. They're easy to fucking set up, easy to maintain, built to pretty reasonably high standards these days, and easy to replace if you do have problems eventually. I could also build a pretty fucking dope, or have someone build a pretty fucking dope um, porch on it. I don't know if I would go for like a wraparound porch, or if I would just expand from what it already has, because sometimes a trailer will have like a little porch area on it already. I don't know what I would do, but I would make sure I had plenty of fucking room outside. Shielded from the rain and all that, but plenty of room on the outside. Honestly, I love hosting people. I love having parties and shit like that. I don't do it very often anymore, but at some point in my life, I would like to get back into it. And I like having the ability for everybody to hang out outside and inside, or to move between the two or whatever. I also like having big family dinners, like at Thanksgiving and Christmas, stuff like that. And this kind of setup would be perfect for that, you know. Oh my god, it would be amazing. So, big ass porch, reasonably sized house, but not too big. I don't want something that's like multi-story, because I have bad knees and bad ankles. I don't do well with stairs, frankly. So I would want something that I can, get around in easily. So, one story is good enough for me, and I also don't want something that's so huge that it's like a total chore to keep it clean. I want something that's like reasonably sized, that way I can actually keep track of all of it. Notice things when they go wrong, clean things up as they need cleaned, etc., etc. But like I said, I would want a big porch so I've got plenty of entertaining space. Um, Outside, I would have a studio area that would have like a bathroom in it, obviously a recording area, but it would have like a couple of different aspects to the recording area. One would just be like my personal space with all the computers and that good shit on it, but I would also have an area for people to hang out in and do like a couple of camera angles and shit for that. That way, if I wanted to, I could have someone come to the compound and have them, hang out with me in the studio shed. Because I'd probably just get one of those like portable buildings and then fix it up like mad. Probably give it like a wood cabin external feel or something, or maybe I'd do metal paneling on the outside. I don't know. I feel like I would not want to stick with whatever the default paneling is. I would probably, if I had the money to, I'd probably want to put something different on there. What kind of siding that would be, I don't know. I'd have to look into all the different sidings and see which one has the most noise cancellation, because I would want it to be a place where if I want to record music in there, I can. If I want to listen to loud music in there while I'm working on something, I can. I want it to have a place that's kind of like a fortress of solitude that I can just exist in without distraction or with chosen distractions only. I've also always wanted to have an outdoor kitchen, so that's another like little outbuilding that there would be. I would have that out by some shade trees and stuff like that, under a big old pavilion that would include some like dining area in it as well. And I'd probably have it next to a patio that would have a fire pit. That way it's got like the good vibes all the way around. And of course there would have to be a bathroom down there too. That's one thing about my fucking crazy ass, like, what would I do if I had $1 million to spend on fucking housing and getting my ultimate shit set up? Because I could do this for less than $1 million. That's one of those things. I would have bathrooms any place that I could foresee people hanging around at for more than an hour. What is even going on in the chat anymore, bro? I swear to God, every time I look at the chat, I'm like more and more confused. You motherfuckers got me fucked up. We should have free will to bring paradise to creation? No. You don't have free will. You have to follow God's will. The only time you have free will is when people need to account for the evil of humanity. When people need to account for how fucked up and evil our society is, when people need to account for how fucked up and evil the world is, they bring up free will. They talk about how it's the choices of human beings that do these things. But when you talk to them about maybe bringing some positive change to the world as a whole, they tell you, no. You have to follow God's will, and God's will is that we go to heaven. That is our paradise. We are not to create paradise here on earth. So I've got to stop you there. You don't have free will anymore. You have to follow my will, and my will is that you don't do that. You can't improve society because the Bible said so. I thought I had free will. You do, but not to violate the Bible. Even if it's in furtherance of things that Jesus Christ agreed with, No. Well, I'm not really trying to build paradise on the planet. I'm trying to, like, lift people out of crushing poverty, you know? I'm not saying put them all on yachts. I'm saying put them all in homes. You understand there's a difference? And they're like, we understand, but unfortunately, big guy doesn't, yeah, I mean, it would be nice if he recognized the distinction. Would be cool. Dude, one of the weird things about me is having worked so many retail jobs and having worked at a call center, I became incredibly skilled at euphemizing bad news, at breaking bad news to somebody, at putting things in a way that diffused people. And it's something I'll catch myself bringing out even now. Second Amendment title says, the guy at the gun store and he only charges me once. Doesn't hit me up for spare cash every Sunday. So this is a guy at the gun store and he only charges me once. Doesn't hit me up for spare cash every Sunday. Valid. A good person can't go to heaven if you don't have a relationship with Christ. Christ is the only way your works don't lead you to heaven. Yeah, but that doesn't excuse the Christian's inability to do good works. Christians were called, first and foremost, yes, to repent and believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, I should say. But their Lord and Savior, the one they are supposed to accept into their heart and let change their perspective, he laid out very specific things, very specific ideas about what he thought human beings should do with their time and how he thought human beings should help one another. How many other people died on the cross? Oh, lots, but don't tell the Christians about that. They hate to hear about that. They hate to be reminded that, as it turns out, Jesus Christ was not the only person punished by the incredibly famous Roman execution of crucifixion in the Roman style. Ironically, Jesus wasn't even the only person crucified that day at that time. If those of you who know your Bible will remember that Jesus was hung, crucified in other words, alongside a thief and a murderer, I believe. Or maybe it was just two thieves. I'd be lying if I said I remembered the whole story right off the bat, right off the top, This is pretty fresh, so I don't know if it'll actually catch like I want it to. But here's hoping, man, because I don't know how I'm going to get this shit started otherwise. We are limited time, just so you guys know, on 17%. So if anybody's got any last super chats, any last questions or discussion topics, let me know. It's your heart? Oh, it's always something, huh? I don't know. Do I have a good heart? Hell, I don't know. According to some people, yeah. According to other people, I'm a cool. Sorry about that, y'all. Are we doing better? I know, Buffy is way better, but Buffy can't always be, her appearances are limited. And she's always got a lot to say, so she's got to say it in a short time, but then she's got to go, More like to a Kryler. That's funny. That's funny. Do you use the women's restroom? If I'm in a public place and I absolutely have to use a bathroom, if it's got single person bathrooms, then yes. If it's got multi-person if it's got multi-person stall type bathrooms, then in that case I'll just wait. Straight up. If that's the kind of bathroom that they got, I will just wait. And use the bathroom when I get home, because I really do not feel safe anymore using the women's restroom when I'm out in public at in a multi-person restroom. I just feel like the temperature has been escalated so hard against trans people that it would no longer be 100% safe for me to use one. But nobody cares about the single-person bathrooms for obvious reasons. So I don't really worry about those. You a dude, bro. Why you dressed like a woman? Because I am a woman. Holy shit. Man meets trans woman for the first time. Is shocked. Can I give birth? No, and neither can a woman with MRKH. As it turns out, you don't cough like that from crack? No, that was a weed cough. This is still a person. We don't have to go that far, guys. Oh, yes, you do. You realize what kind of group you're trying to appeal to? You realize, like, my chat, okay? Let me just put you up on game about something. There's a YouTuber out there, used to be called The Amazing Atheist, also known as TJ Kirk, now known as Into the Fray. And they're, friend of the channel, friend of mine, and they are a fucking complete edgelord that loves to hang out in tragically fucked up places. And they gave my chat what I think might be the biggest perverse compliment I could have possibly gotten. Because they said on a show a couple of weeks back that my chat is the most repugnant, shit-filled cesspit on this entire platform. And they're right. It's because I milk MAGA people and right-wing people and hardcore, like, Nazi types and shit like that. I milk them for views and reactions. And I argue with them. But what it creates as a side product is literally what has been certified by the edgiest person I know personally as the worst chat on this platform. You're appealing to the worst chat on YouTube. Really just seems boring. I mean, the stream was less boring earlier, I would say. At this point, I'm pretty gassed. We're sitting at 11% battery, which means I probably got like 10 minutes left with you guys, maybe. By the way, there's 70 of you guys watching. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have 35 likes on top of the additional fucking 29 likes we already have. So if you haven't hit that like button, please do so right now. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, there's a chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increase the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. I don't care if we're about to go. I want those likes. Uncle Flanus with the fucking Australian 10. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. What a kind soul. Some money for Phoebe. Thank you, mate. I appreciate you, Doug. Very kind of you, mate. No, seriously, I appreciate that a lot. What a cool dude. Even if you guys say he's not real, the truth is he's real and you'll see. Oh my god, shut up. I'm sick of the proselytizing. Order 66 on the proselytizing. No more Jesus talk. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick to death of it. None of you are asking interesting things. The only fucking thing I'm reading that has anything to do with Jesus right now is all proselytizing. Don't ban anybody who's not proselytizing. If they're just arguing against it, whatever. But no more Jesus talk. It's done. It's over. I'm not going to spend the last few minutes of my stream and the last hit or two of this bowl sifting through a bunch of fucking Christian retards. So order 66 on the fucking proselytizers. They can evangelize somewhere else tonight. Here for the argument, woke agenda? Fuck, I don't know. What is the woke agenda, man? As far as I can tell, like, if you consider, like, the work of the Democrats to be the woke agenda seems to be, like, roll over and let Trump fuck them up the ass. I really can't tell. Doesn't seem like they're putting up much of a resistance. In fact, it seems like they're using it more as an opportunity to fundraise. Who could have predicted that? I don't know, maybe any fucking leftist you would have talked to in the run-up to the election? Anyway, putting that aside, there's a very, There's a very green and gross goblin behind you, Phoebe. Oh, man. I'm scared, dog. That's fucking terrifying, man. Oh, dude. That's wild. Man. Of course you're sick of Jesus talk. You know your lifestyle will lead you to hell. No, I'm literally just sick of the Jesus talk because it's all based on a Bronze Age myth that I knew was bullshit. Fucking like 15 years ago, bro. I'm 27 years old. That means I figured out that Jesus was a myth back when I was like 12. I figured out that Jesus was a philosophical character and not a real person that actually existed around about 15 fucking years ago. There are some of you who are older than me who are still going around peddling this stupid bullshit. No, that's not true, Philly Matt. I mean, it depends on the person. Like, my thing about this is, right, you would not appreciate it. Sorry about that. I moved my foot and I accidentally kicked the phone down. Anyway, Philly Matt, you would not appreciate it if I said something like that about your side, you know? You would probably accuse me of generalizing, because I would be generalizing. So let's not generalize each other. Let's keep each other human. And, yeah, like, my thing is, I'm not going to say I have respect for the viewpoints in terms of, like, thinking there's something to them in terms of, like, being good policy or something like that, but I respect your ability to be that, you know? My way of putting it is, I respect your right to be wrong. No matter how wrong I think a person might be, I still think that they have the right to be that wrong, you know, in their thoughts and opinions. I think the mark of a successful society would be creating a society in which toxic ways of living and ways of thinking about things would be avoided by a robust social safety net and way more socialization and way more community, way better foods. I respect your right to be wrong, but I'd rather us come together and find a solution that is right. I mean, yeah, that's, like, I would too, Philly. But, you know, I will say this much, Philly. Me and you are kind of becoming rarities. I mean, some of the mods in my chat are honestly, a lot of my mods don't share my particular flavor of, you know, reaching across the aisle. Like, I've got quite a few mods who, I don't know, like, they put up with it because they like listening to me bloviate and make the arguments. They like listening to me dunk on MAGA people. And they like, me also presenting the theory backside or whatever, the living experience backside or whatever it is, providing the labor argument or whatever it is to someone who's arguing from the conservative standpoint. And they don't necessarily practice that kind of reaching across the aisle in their own lives or anything like that, but, they appreciate the work I'm doing here. And I think that the reason why there are people like that is because people know, I think, on some level that has to be done, but a lot of people don't feel like they're capable of it. Thoughts on boiled lesbians in Ghana? A real tragedy, man. We're going to figure out them boiled lesbians. Oh, that's just a terrible story, Greg. What an awful thing to happen to those lesbians in Ghana. All right, Angie, and it's back to you with the weather. Dude, newscasters are so fucking soulless. I'm not the only person that sees this shit, right? Every time I watch the cable news media, I am struck by the sheer fucking, like, stone-faced fucking, or not even stone-faced, but the, like, blithe, aloof, detached nature of these newscasters. I prefer my lesbian smoked, more flavorful that way. Me too, frankly. I will tell you guys, for my money, smoking is the superior way to cook anything. Honestly, for my money, you can do no better than to smoke something. If you've got the time and you've got some kind of way to do it, smoke you some meat. It's a good way to do it. It's a good fucking way to do it. Just make sure you do it right, man. There's so many ways to fuck up some shit you're smoking. It is not as easy as the YouTube chefs make it out to be, okay? Are you Democrat? I'm non-political. Sorry if that's a personal question. I'm cool with everyone. No, it's not a personal question. I wouldn't say I'm a Democrat, but I'm definitely like a lefty, you know? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go, guys. It's been really fun. Thank you guys for hanging out, but my phone is about to die. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that little alert bell so you see notifications for these in the future. I do try to go live at least once every night, usually around 12 a.m. CST, sometimes a little earlier, rarely a little later, but around 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. CST, you can expect me. With all that being said, hit that like button, hit the subscribe and the bell. Thank you guys for super chatting, hanging around, participating in the chat and all that. And I will see you guys later.